Hey guys, I'm back with another video and I'm super excited for today's video because I'm going to be tier ranking all of the books I've read in 2023 and I'm super excited. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to be editing this video, but if you're watching this video, I finally figured out how to edit it. So a little worried about that, but without further ado, let's get started with the video and let's get to tier ranking some books. I'm going to go ahead and read off the tiers I have. So up at the top, I have Bury Me with This Book, which means 5-star, perfect book, one of my favorites of the year. Then we have He's a 10, but, which means it could have been a 5-star, but it was just missing a little something. Then we have She Basic, which essentially, that just means it was just a basic book, basic read. Then we have Meh Meh, which means wasn't absolutely terrible, but it was not a good book. And then we have Throw Into a Fire and Let It Burn, and that means that basically the book was absolutely terrible. So I will preface this by saying none of the books are like in any sort of order of when I read them, but I'm gonna get started. And the first book is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and honestly, I don't know. I think I'm doing this as a whole series, as a whole. So for Good Girl's Guide to Murder, I'm going to have to put it as He's a 10, but, because I read the trilogy and I didn't quite like the ending. So there is that. Then next we have Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan, and I absolutely loved this book. I just think it's such a sweet story, and I literally teared up at some moments. So this one I'm going to have to say, Bury Me with This Book. I would like to be buried with Archer's Voice in my casket. So the next we have Bad Girl Reputation, which is the second book in the Avalon Bay series. And this is about one of the twin brothers and a girl who he used to date who moves back into Avalon Bay. And honestly, I'm going to have to say He's a 10, but basically because, I don't know, it was a great book, but it wasn't necessarily a 5-star read for me. It was probably like a 4.5 star. And then next we have Be With Me by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And if I'm being completely honest, we're throwing it into a fire and letting it burn. And I say this because I read this in one sitting, in one day, and the writing was terrible. There were so many typos in the book that it drove me absolutely insane. Like, it was just typo after typo. And what bothered me most is there was no consistency. Like, things would change throughout the book about the plot. So it made absolutely no sense. And it drove me insane. So this one can go. It can burn. Yeah, this book, wish I didn't read it, to be honest. The next we have Becoming Free Indeed, which was, I think it was Jessa Duggar's book. I'm going to put that under She Basic. I mean, it was just a memoir. It was interesting. I ended up reading it because I watched the Shiny Happy People documentary, so I wanted to read her take on all that stuff, but it was just a basic memoir. Nothing spectacular about it, if I'm being honest. Then next we have Before the Coffee Gets Cold. And if I'm being completely honest, I would like to be buried with this book. I just thought it was a very interesting book to read. I like how it was split up into separate parts with the separate characters, but they all tied together. Oh my gosh, my cat is going to kill me. But I like how it all tied together. I like those kind of books. Everyone's story just somehow meshed together. And I thought the whole aspect of time travel was also very interesting. So there's that book. Then we have Beg You to Trust Me by B. Celeste. If I'm being honest, I'm just gonna have to put it under She Basic. It was a basic little romance read. I thought it was really cute, but if I'm being honest, nothing too special about it. It wasn't great, but it also wasn't bad. So right in the middle, 3-star read. So that is how I felt about that book. Then next we have the Belle Morte series. And this is a book series that started off on Wattpad. And I don't know, I can't decide. like really stuck between She Basic and Meh Meh. Like, I think I'm gonna do Meh. I think I rated this like 2.5 stars. I mean, the concept, I thought it was a really great concept. It was like celebrity vampires that all live in a house, and they have all these humans that sign up that are like obsessed with them, and they sign up to be like feeders. I thought that was really interesting, but other than that, I just thought the writing wasn't all that great, and I found myself getting bored with the book a lot of the time. So it was very bland to me. So next we have By a Thread by Lucy Score, and this is a boss employee kind of relationship book, and I think I've mentioned this a million times on my channel, but Lucy Score is by far one of my favorite authors when it comes to romance, so I think we know where this book is going to go. Obviously, I want to be married with this book. And I don't know, it's also it's like a rich people romance, which I love because he's rich and she's poor, and I think because I am broke, I like that aspect. But yeah, so obviously I want to be buried with By a Thread. I also thought it was just a really good book, if I'm being honest. So next we have Dare You to Hate Me, which I think is the second book in the Linden You series, which goes along with Beg You to Trust Me. I will say this, I think it's basic, but yeah, I'm just gonna put in She Basic with the other book. It's just, I don't know, the writing was okay. It didn't really entertain me that much. It was just a book to pass the time, if I'm being completely honest. But I will say this, will I pick up another book from this series if it comes out? Yes, so there is that. So next we have Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, which you don't know anything about this book. You've been living under a rock because Lord knows everyone talks about this on BookTube, but I absolutely love this. It was a YA kind of like historical fantasy. There was like some magic in it, and it like also had the format like there were letters here and there in the book, which I thought was really cool. Honestly, I want to be buried with this book. It's just quite shocking because I don't typically enjoy YA books anymore. I feel like I've aged out of the writing, but I feel like this writing in particular of this book goes both ways. Like, so I think it's also a good book for adults to read. So I thought it was really interesting, and just the whole concept of it. I liked how it felt like you were going back in time in a way, because they were writing with typewriters is how they wrote, and it's about a war between gods, and they're like corresponding. It's just really interesting. I highly suggest you read this book. You know, you might have to like dig up my grave to get one, but you know, there's that. Then next we have Does It Hurt, and honestly, I'm going to throw it into a fire and let it burn. I read this book because I feel like it's very popular and a lot of people really enjoy it, but it is a dark romance book. So there's a lot of just elements in it that I don't particularly enjoy. A lot of elements that kind of make me feel a little uncomfortable. It's kind of like, I think it's Emily McIntyre who writes she wrote Cross, Wretched, and all those. I just typically don't like those books. I don't like those kinds of romances. I just don't get the greatest feeling when I read a dark romance. So that's why I'm going to have to throw Does It Hurt into a fire. Mostly just because I don't agree with a lot of the stuff in the book. So next we have The Final Offer by Lauren Asher. I'm just going to put it under meh. I feel like that's going to be controversial, but here's why. I think it had a lot to do with the fact I read all three of them back to back, kind of marathon style, super quick. And so I just ran out of steam. I just became uninterested in it by this one. Would I probably go back and read it? Yes, but for now, I'm going to put it under meh. I felt myself speed reading through it to get through it. So that is why. It's also a second chance romance, which usually I enjoy, but I think this is one of those books I'll have to come back in like a year and give a second chance, but as of today, it's meh. So next we have Flawless, and this is one of my most recent reads. This is going to have to go under bury me with this book. I get all the hype about this series. I honestly loved it. The cowboy romance. I do live in Tennessee, so I do love a good cowboy. And I like the bull riding aspect because PBR is such an interesting sport, so I definitely loved reading this book. Also, it was spicy, and I was needing a little spiciness in my books. So definitely going to be buried with that one. So next we have another Lucy score, Forever Never. But if I'm being completely honest, this is gonna be shocking, but I'm gonna put under he's a 10, but this wasn't my favorite Lucy score book. It's like a second chance romance, and she's like escaping something from her life. And I don't know. It wasn't my favorite. It wasn't the most interesting, but I did enjoy the romance. It takes place in Mackinac Island, which I thought was really interesting, which is the island that you have to like drive a boat. And I just thought it was kind of a cool setting for the book. So next we have Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Can't you tell I'm so excited? Obviously, I want to be buried with this book. The dragons, Xaden. Oh my gosh, the romance. Literally, I cannot be any more obsessed with this book. I love it. Honestly, I completely understand why everyone and their mother is obsessed with it. The spice, the fantasy, the dragons. It was honestly just a giant recipe for success, and I am excited because we are so close to the sequel coming out in November, so I'll probably be buried with that one too. Next, we have Gaslight by Rachel Rose, another Wattpad book that I read. I'm being completely honest, I can't really tell you what it's about. I think it has something to do with boxing or something. I don't really know. I read it and my brain just did not grasp onto any of the information that was in that book. So I'm going to have to throw it into a fire and let it burn. Honestly, I felt like this book was a waste of my time. The writing was very juvenile. The concept was very juvenile. I hate to say it, but Wattpad lately has been coming up with great books, and this is not it. So that's why I'm going to have to light it on fire. So next we have Good Girl Complex. And if I'm being completely honest, even though I did like it better than Bad Girl Reputation, I'm going to have to put this under he's a 10, but Elle Kennedy, I've read better Elle Kennedy books, and this is just not my favorite. I do really enjoy the Avalon Bay series. I think they're like 4.5 stars for me. I do still need to read The Summer Girl. Maybe that one will change my mind, but for now, Good Girl Complex is definitely going in the he's a 10 section. So that's where I stand on that. Then next we have Happy Place by Emily Henry. And this is also going under he's a 10 but. And this is about a couple who broke up, but they haven't told their friends, and they go on some huge like friend vacation, so they have to pretend that they're still together. Super awkward. They both want like different things, and they like drifted apart. So this, I do love Emily Henry, but this one just was missing a few things. I think it just wasn't the most interesting book of hers. So that's why I'm going to have to put it in this tier. But I will say this, it was still a really good book. Definitely recommend it. So next we have Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. So fun fact about Icebreaker, which I say this I think in every video where I bring up this book, I say this. I first read this book when it was on Wattpad. So I feel a special connection to this book because I read it before it was huge. So that makes me so excited. Because I read it before it was like a huge book. But I read it on Wattpad. I am going to bury myself with this book. The spiciness. It's just your typical Wattpad like romance, but a good one. I just really liked it. I also like the ice skating and the hockey romances. Elle Kennedy definitely got me into that. But I'm definitely going to be buried with this book. I just love it. Next we have Love Theoretically by Allie Hazelwood. And she is another one of my go-to authors that I always read. And it's like an enemies to lovers, academic rivals romance. and I really like it. I love how she always includes STEM in her. I feel like I'm learning something whenever I read her books. So this one I want to be buried with Love Theoretically. It's just, oh, I just love her romances. I love how she does it. I know they can be a bit copy and paste, but I do enjoy that. I kind of feel like I know what I'm getting into, and it's something I know I'm going to enjoy. So there's that. Next, we have Maggie Moves On by Lucy Score. This is another book that I didn't quite enjoy. I don't know. It's about a woman. She runs a YouTube channel where she, like, goes and renovates these houses, and she, like, falls for the contractor, like, the hunky contractor. I don't know. It just wasn't my favorite Lucy Score. I'm going to put on He's a 10 Butts, because I just wish there was a little bit more. It kind of felt slow at times, so that's why I didn't necessarily enjoy it compared to the other Lucy Score books I absolutely love. So there's that. Next, we have Magnolia Parks. Bury me with this book. Please bury me with this. I am obsessed with the whole rich people drama. I agree with everyone. It's basically like Gossip Girl set in London. It's just the drama, the rich people drama. It's just so captivating, and it is very toxic, but I think that's why a lot of people are just so addicted to it, because of the toxicity of it. Next, we have Magnolia Parks: The Long Way Home. I would also like to be buried with this. I just think it gets more complex, the Magnolia and BJ romance. I just think everything kind of culminates into this one. This is where all the drama really kicks up, when we learn a lot more that we didn't in the first book. And, you know, Magnolia has changed. She's growing. So definitely I want to be buried with this book. So next we have Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. This was, I think I rated it like 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, but I don't know, there's always just something missing with her books, so I'm going to put under He's a 10 Butts. I don't know, I just wish there was a teensy bit more spice in her books, and I would enjoy it. I just always feel like I'm going to get spice, and I don't. And I know that's her writing, and it's probably me. It's a me problem, not a her problem. But I just want more spice in these books. I don't know why, it just seems like there would be more spice. Yeah, that's definitely a me problem, but, you know. On to the next book. And then we have, oh, also, I will say this. I completely forgot to, like, say anything about the book. I did like how it was, like, a wrong time, wrong place kind of relationship. I don't typically read a lot of those, so that's another thing that I really enjoyed about the book. Next, we have Misfit by Elle Kennedy, and this is part of her prep series. So it's about, like, all these, like, juvenile delinquents who go to this, like, prep school for them, for, like, all the bad kids. And there's this whole, like, situation going on, and the boy who's sitting there, his mom gets married to this person he's never met, so he has like a brother all of a sudden, and then he gets there, he meets the headmaster's like daughter, and they like fall for each other. I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna put this, honestly, bury me with this book. I really enjoyed it. I like a good prep school book. It was a really good one. I do really enjoy Elle Kennedy books. Next, we have My Fault by Mercedes Vaughn, and honestly, I would like to be buried with this book. Every trope in this book is so wrong, but so right. Like the stepbrother, stepsister. I know it's so bad to say, the taboo relationship, and then it's got the car racing and all of that, and they're enemies to lovers. Honestly, give me an enemies to lovers book and try to make me hate it. It's gonna be hard. I mean, I don't like all enemies to lovers, but for 99% of the time, I'm gonna love a enemies to lovers book. Also, I'm obsessed with the movie, and hopefully we'll get a sequel, because, you know, somebody had to get arrested at Venice, but, you know, hopefully we'll get more movies. So, back to the topic at hand, though. Next, we have Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I would like to be buried with this book. At first, I thought I was gonna like it because I'm not a big fan of age gap romances, and I think there's like a 10+ year difference between the girl and the boy. The girl is older. She's like past her prime almost, but like I really enjoyed it. I just think they were the perfect fits. And I really enjoyed Abby Jimenez's writing. You got your space. and the town reminded me a lot of Gilmore Girls. And anytime there's a town like that, I really enjoy it. So next we have Daughter of the Pirate King. And it's about the daughter of the Pirate King who gets kidnapped by other pirates. And there's a bunch of other stuff. Can't really tell you because I was so uninterested in this book. This one, burn it in the fire. Honestly, I don't know. This was just like a great example of how I have aged out of YA writing. I think they need to separate YA writing into like the 12 through like whatever, and like the 16 and up. I think YA is just too broad, and I think this is on the younger end of YA, so I didn't really enjoy it. Next we have Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams, and I'm going to put this on He's a 10 but because I really did enjoy it. The romance was adorable. It's like a bodyguard romance. He's a bodyguard and she owns a flower shop, so it's very like, she's soft, he's hard. Like, you know, that sounded really bad. That was a very bad way to describe that. But I just really like the differences. They're so different, but at the same time, they have like so many similarities. So I really enjoyed that. And I think going through the book, the main character, the girl, she's learning to like basically love herself. So I really enjoyed that. And next we have Redeemed by Lauren Asher. And I want to be buried with this book. This was my favorite book in the Dirty Air series. I really enjoyed it. It's about Santos, I think his name, it's been a hot second since I've read that, but it's about the girl in the first book, her brother. He has a racing injury and he's suffering. And then there's the girl who's trying to find her father, and it brings them together, and it's a fake dating romance, but it's so sweet, and they like help each other grow. So I definitely really enjoyed that. So next we have the Rhapsodic series. I'm just doing this as a series, but altogether, I just thought, meh. I really wanted to read it. It had been on my, when I read it, it had been on my TBR for quite some time. But if I'm being honest, it did not live up to my expectations. I do love fae romances, but there are so many better romances if you want to read a fae romance. And that's that. Next, we have Rock Bottom Girl by Lucy Score. And I'm going to put this under Bury Me With It because I loved this book. It's about a girl who like comes back into town after she has a breakup. She gets fired from her job. She moves back home and she ends up taking a job as the PE teacher and the soccer coach. And also while she's there, she finds out that the track coach or cross country coach or whatever is also a history teacher, and it's somebody she graduated from high school with. And it's kind of one of those situations where it's like coulda, woulda, you know. And then they start fake dating. And I just really enjoyed it. I thought the romance was really cute. Lucy Score knows how to write some spice, so there is that. Also, like how she does, a lot of her characters are older, so I do enjoy that. Because I feel like a lot of the times you're reading about 18-year-olds, sometimes you just want someone different. And next we have Rogue by Elle Kennedy. I Want to Be Buried With This as well. It's the sequel to Misfit, and it kind of brings the mystery to a head because there is like a mystery they're trying to figure out in Misfit because something happened to the younger sister. They're trying to figure it out, but I really enjoyed it. And the next is The Serpent and the Wings of Night duology. I Want to Be Buried With This one too. I really enjoyed it. It's a vampire romance. I didn't know it was like a vampire romance when I first picked it up, but I really was surprised by it. So I think it was like Destiny Sidwell I saw reading it. I was like, I need to get that book because I really liked the cover. But I really enjoyed it. It kind of has like a Hunger Games feel to it. Or like, it reminded me of Light Lark in a way with the like competition and everything. So I really like that. It's also Enemies to Lovers. So, once again, I love me some Enemies to Lovers. The next we have Shadow and Bone. I'm going to put this under meh. Another example of I just don't like YA writing. I don't enjoy it. I just can't get through it. And I read it, and I also think it had a lot to do with the fact that I saw the show before I read the book. So by then I was just uninterested because I knew what was happening. Next, we have Stinger by Mia Sheridan. And I'm going to put this under He's a 10 But. I really enjoyed it. It's about a porn star who becomes like, he like helps save girls from sex trafficking. But like before that, he meets this girl who's like very like mundane, follows the rules, is in law school, and they have this unforgettable weekend. But then like all this time goes on and they meet again and they just rekindle. And I absolutely loved it. But there were some times where I was like, I didn't want to like keep reading, but then like a couple chapters in, I would get drawn back in. So there were some slow spots in the book, so that's why I'm putting it in this section. So next we have Terms and Condition. I'm gonna put this under She Basic. Honestly, the Billionaire Dreamland series is not my favorite by Lauren Asher. I mean, I enjoy it, but there's not much I have to say about it. Then next I have The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. This is also going under She Basic. I mean, it's novellas, so I don't know. It just wasn't my favorite. Yes, we got to see her in Selena and Sam, but besides that, I'm just not a big novella person. So next is The Bite by Z.W. Taylor. That's going under meh. I don't know, the writing just wasn't that great. I didn't really like the plot. It's a werewolf story, but like, it just dragged out so much. And it didn't have a good pace to it. So it's just very slow. So next we have The Confidence of Wildflowers. I'm going to put this under, I think I'm going to do She Basic. I mean, it's a popular book, but you know, the age gap always just felt very weird to me. Because she is freshly 18 and he's already in his 30s. So it was a little much for me. Also, like, the fact that she basically was, like, I don't know, it was always very much so weird to me, and I didn't like it. And I'm going to go ahead and do The Resurrection of Wildflowers. I don't know, I liked that one a lot more, so I'm going to put it under He's a 10 But. I like how she's older in this one, and they, like, it's a second chance romance. Also, there's, like, an unplanned pregnancy, which I just spoiled that book, ignore me. I feel like everyone's read this book, though, so there's that. The next, we have The Inheritance Games. Honestly, these are all going to go under He's a 10. And I'm going to tell you why. I really enjoyed the first two books, but then the ending just felt like anticlimactic. It just felt like I read all those books and was like, this is the ending? Like, this is what you are leaving me with? So that is why I really enjoyed the first books, though. I like the concept of, like, you know, the girl picked randomly. Well, not so randomly. You find out, well, like, to, like, get this inheritance. I just thought it was really interesting. Then we have The Fine Print by Lauren Asher. And this one I'm going to put under, let's see, I'm going to do He's a 10 But. I really enjoyed this one. I liked it a lot more. I like how, like, they're designing all the rides and stuff, which I thought was interesting. So I'm going to put that there. The next we have The Nanny, and I'm going to put this under She Basic. It was more smut than plot, so there is that. I can remember the smut, but like I don't remember the plot because there wasn't much of it. The next we have The Reunion by Kayla Olson, and I'm going to put this under She Basic. It's about two people who are child stars on a show. They meet back together to do a reunion episode, and they fall for each other all over again. It just felt very basic. It was a book of the month, so. Next, we have The Silent Patient, and I'm going to put this under He's a 10, but I feel like it would rate higher, but it was, like, not a genre I typically reach for, so that's why I'm putting it in this tier, but I really enjoyed it. I like the twists and turns. I like the plot twist. I like how creepy it was. So next we have The Worst Best Man, and I'm going to put it under meh. I mean, it was an okay book. It was enemies to lovers. She gets jilted at the altar and then has to work with her ex-best man from the wedding, but like, I don't know, it just wasn't spectacular, and it was just meh. Then we have Things We Hide from the Light by Lucy Score. I will be getting buried with this. It's the sequel to Things We Never Got Over, and it's about Nash and his brother's friend, and it's kind of enemies to lovers, grumpy sunshine, all that. Well, actually, they're kind of both grumpy, but I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. Also, they're like, it's a continuation of all the stuff that happened in the first book, like all the crime. There's that. Next, we have Through You, which is the sequel to Through My Window. I'm going to put this under meh. I didn't find it very interesting. I definitely did enjoy the first book a lot more, so it's going under meh. And next we have Travis by Mia Sheridan. I would like to be buried with this book. It's about Archer's brother, or like half brother, and he meets this girl who like goes from town to town, and they like really hit it off, but also they're like, he wants to stay rooted. She doesn't know if she wants to stay rooted. So that's kind of the whole dilemma they're going through. But I really enjoyed it. It was a very sweet story. Also, like, he's becoming more of a brother to Archer. So next we have Twisted Hate. I'm going to put this under He's a 10 Butts. It's part of the Twisted series. It's about the redheaded friend and the brother from the first book. And it's enemies to lovers. It's like a friends with benefits situation. And there's also some like added crime going on. I mean, my favorite will always be Twisted Games. And it just did not live up to Twisted Games. And same for Twisted Lies. I'm going to put that under He's a 10, but primarily because it just didn't live up to Twisted Games. And then we have What Moves the Dead. I'm going to put this under meh because obviously the genre is not something I pick up. I was just trying to like, switch it up a bit and try something new, but it's like The Taming of the Shrew, I think. Or no, it's The House of the Fall of Usher. It's like a retelling of that. And it was creepy, which I enjoyed, but other than that, I just really didn't enjoy the book. It just felt very long. Next we have Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. I'm gonna put this, I don't know, I like can't decide if I'm gonna do He's a 10 But or burying it. I want to be buried with this. So it's about two doctors, and first it's kind of like enemies to lovers because she thinks he's also after his job, but you find out that he has a lot of social anxiety and doesn't want that kind of position. And it's really cute, and they write these like cute little letters, which I really enjoyed. So that is the last book of my tier ranking. So these are all the books I've read so far in 2023 and how I feel about them. Those are all the books I've read so far in the year 2023. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's kind of something different, but I've seen a lot of people do it, and I just wanted to join in on it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and until next time, see you guys.